Let's talk our weekly book interview that we do around this time every morning. Now, civil engineer Mano Govender asked himself a couple of questions because he was diagnosed with diabetes about 13 years ago. What are those questions? Are you on medication for type 2 diabetes but still cannot control your blood glucose? Do you want to find out how you can gradually give up all medication? Are you serious about regaining your health? These are some of the questions that Mano had to ask himself, a civil engineer, about diabetes, how to deal with it. As a result, this came out, the book that we're chatting to, Diabetes Defeated. He's here to chat to us more about this book. Mano, good morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Lebo.
I gave a brief history about, how this book came about. Talk to us about what inspired it.
My father had diabetes and he passed away in 2004, and so did my mother-in-law. And you would think that having had that background, I would have known better, but I didn't. And I found that following conventional medical advice for 10 years didn't really work for me. And the thought came to my mind, what Einstein says, if you do the same things, you can expect the same results. And I knew I had to do something different. So I went out to find out if there were any people out there that managed to recover from diabetes. And I found that doctors from the US, from the UK, from other parts of the world had actually evidence of taking the patients off medication. And I wanted to find out what is it that they did. So I read the books, I looked at the research that they provided, I went into peer-reviewed published papers in medical journals, in scientific journals, and I found that there's a ton of information out there, which I put together, which helped me to recover from diabetes. I'm now off medication for 2 years, and I wanted to bring this information to those people that wanted to find out how they can regain their health. It's always a choice. I feel anybody can regain their health at any time, provided they have the right mindset. And this basically sets out how one can develop the right mindset, follow the right dietary advice, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and the kind of exercise that is essential to recover from diabetes.
What were the highlights of putting this book together? I mean, it took you 5 years. We were talking about how long it took you to just put this book together.
I think the research itself took me about 5 years. And over the time, there was lots of hits and misses because I found that just merely following the conventional advice was not enough. I found that, for example, if one had to eat the kind of medical advice and dietary advice to eat complex carbs and get 45% of the energy from that, there's a direct bearing on the blood glucose levels. So some of it is fairly logical. So by cutting out the carbs and to reasonable, moderate levels, less than 50 grams a day, I found that very soon I didn't need to take any medication. So for me, it was exciting. It was really exciting to find that a lot of the symptoms started to disappear, and eventually I have normal blood glucose readings. I'm fit and healthy. And for a person that's over 50 years of age, I have the health and vitality of a 30-year-old person.
You look amazing for a 50-year-old. How do we get people to understand and take this route, healthy eating, exercise to beat diabetes?
It's a very long answer, and that's why I felt that I needed to write the book. But essentially, I mentioned the thing about carbohydrates. The other thing is that I found that we've been given misleading advice as far as the oils that we choose to eat. Monounsaturated oils, the polyunsaturated oils, which has been promoted by the seed oil industry, is actually not very good for us because it's got a very low smoke point. And cooking with those oils tend to produce a very dangerous form of cholesterol, which is known as VLDL, and a trans fat. And that tends to cause all kinds of health problems, including heart disease and diabetes. So these are the kind of information that are put in there, but there's a lot more than that. For me to go, it'll take me a few days to explain in detail, and I do run workshops for people that want to know about these things, how they can actually regain their health.
All right, Mano, thank you so much for talking to us. We have to let you go. Mano Govender is the author of the book Diabetes Defeated, talking to us his book Re-Engineering Life 42. Now, it's just gone 8 o'clock with this hand to Johannesburg, where Sam Marshall is standing by with the news.